He's got the whole world in his hands. Got the whole world in his hands. Hey, I'm just sitting here on my porch just looking. What am I looking at? I'm looking to the hills from whence cometh my help. For my help, some of y'all know the rest. I just wanted to come on and just tell everybody, just be as calm as you can.
What is going on with y'all, man? It is Black Balloon, and I'm coming back with another video, so y'all already know what's going on. Alright, y'all. We are not gonna spare Tyler Perry. We're gonna treat this situation just like the Diddy situation when it came out. And recently, Gene Deal and Dr. Umar, they went on Art of Dialogue channel, and they also talked about the Tyler Perry situation. You know, Gene Deal had his own story on back in the day, basically saying he already knew what was going on with Tyler Perry, right? So I said, you know what? In between me working on the bigger video about AI and stuff, I'm going to go ahead and get this video done. We're going to talk about this a little bit more, right? Now, I'm not going to make this video too long, but I did want to share and talk about these two clips with y'all just in case y'all don't keep up with that channel or watch their videos, right? But once again, this is just something where we get on here and, you know, expose this casting couch of an industry. Now, mind you, in that video we did when we were talking about the Boondocks exposing Tyler Perry, I did say that the guy who was Dixon, who's actually, you know, behind the lawsuit, I did say, yes, it seems like he played with Tyler Perry. You know, it seems like a lot of that stuff he may have agreed to. And, you know, when you hear Dr. Umar talk about it, he thinks the same thing. You know, he kind of chalked it up as the guy Dixon not being a cheap hoe. You know, he was saying, you either gonna pay me, you gonna give me my shows, or, you know, I'm gonna flip all this and I'm gonna say you abuse me. Because I think his money per show went from $10,000 an episode to $15,000 an episode during the run of the 80 plus episodes when he was on the Oval. So, and I agree. I'm like, because, you know, it seems like he had time to come out about what was going on or the abuse that was going on or how aggressive Tyler Perry was being toward him a lot longer than when he actually came out with this lawsuit, right? So without me dragging on this intro right here, y'all, we're going to go ahead and get into the first clip with Gene Deal, and then I'm going to show that clip with Dr. Umar, and we're going to come back and talk about it a little bit more, all right, y'all? Check this out.
Here go a whole nother thing. But this guy, he doing a civil suit against Tyler Perry. He just, I don't know if he put any racketeering or any criminal acts against him, but it's real funny, man, how stuff I talked about years ago, how Tyler Perry was in at Jack the Rapper. I don't know if he was at Jack the Rapper per se, but Jack the Rapper was in Puerto Rico. And me and my man was sitting at a table, Black, this kid named Black, pretty boy Black. We were sitting at the table at this nice restaurant. And 2 bottles of champagne came over to our table. I was like, damn, Black, you balling like that, bruh? So I know you got the bill. He was like, Gene, I thought you ordered that shit. I said, I ain't ordered nothing. What are you talking about? So I called the waitress. I say, hey, yo, these bottles is about $200-300 a bottle, bro. And you talking about we in the in early 2000s. They're like $200-300 a bottle. I was like, hey, yo, this at the wrong table. You know what I'm saying? And she said, no. The gentleman over there sent the bottles over to the gentleman over here. And they pointed to my man Black. And I looked at the gentleman over there, and I looked at Black. I looked at the gentleman over there, and he's smiling. And then I looked at Black. I looked at the gentleman over there, and it was Tyler Perry. I was like, oh, snap. I said, yo, little ninja, let me find out you wake up in the morning and Mud Deer's in the room with you. Man, he sent my man 2 bottles of champagne over. I was like, yo, Black, you know him? He was like, yo, no. I said, send him back. He was like, I'm drinking them. I said, all right, dude. Go ahead and drink them if you want to. Tyler Perry sending grown men bottles of champagne over to their table back then. So when I told that story, I guess some people was mad at me because I told the story. But I also knew about the Boondocks. Did you ever watch the Boondocks? And they did this segment on there when this actor was acting like he was a woman.
You know, it's crazy to me, man. I know it's well-known practice, bars and restaurants, people to send a drink over to somebody like, yo, what up? Way of saying hey without saying hey, what's going on? But people who got money, they be bold, especially toward another man. Like, you have no idea who's sitting at that table and who 15 years later or however long later will be able to tell a story that you sent a drink over to another grown man. And just so happened Gene Deal was sitting at that table with his friend. And the waiter specifically said this drink was sent to you by him. Said he looked over and boom, it was Tyler Perry. Now, he didn't say when that happened, but he said it was back in the day. And it would make sense with the whole Christian Keys situation, because as we know, that was back in the early 2000s as well. But y'all already know how this industry stuff goes. They keep this stuff well wrapped, unless you in that circle, unless you there to see what's going on with your own 2 eyes, you won't really know too much about this stuff. Now, will this Tyler Perry stuff reach the levels of Diddy and so on? I'm not sure, I don't know if he was going at it as hard as Diddy. Diddy, them demons and Diddy are strong. So I'm not sure if this will reach that kind of level. But me, I don't care. With the stuff we do on this channel, with all the research we've done and all the cast and couch stuff we talked about, y'all got to remember something. Before we get into the Dr. Umar clip, y'all got to remember something, right? There was a time in this community where, even long before I was doing videos or the early 2010s, where people were just exposing this stuff. People were exposing the cast and couch in the film industry or, the rap industry. You got to do this to get a show. You got to do that to, make it. There was a time where you sounded crazy just for trying to expose it. You weren't even putting a name on it. There was no name. It was just, yo, this exists and this is how they get a job. And people looking at you like you crazy. But now, in this day and age, we're able to put names on this stuff. Lawsuits are popping up from everywhere and names are being put on it. They're actually telling you. People are feeling the need or feeling more comfortable coming out and telling you this stuff. Now, the guy Christian Keys, he didn't say anything back in them days. He waited until like 2023 and he came out with this stuff, or 2024. I don't know. Maybe he got paid off and he said, boom, I'm good. I ain't gonna say nothing else. Or maybe he was threatened. I don't know. But I'm just stressing the point that we have came a long way, y'all. That with some of this stuff, we can actually put a name on it now. And these people and the practices of the industry is really being exposed. So with that being said, y'all, we'll go ahead and jump into this clip with Dr. Umar. It's a little bit longer. We'll play it out. I'll come back and we'll wrap this video up. All right, y'all. Check this out.
Tyler Perry goes to the BET Awards.
he gives a speech, and he's an excellent orator, by the way. I'm an orator. I study oratory. Tyler Perry could have been a pastor or community activist. He's a very good speaker, very good public speaker. He says that I've made more millionaires than every other studio in this city combined. That's what he said. And don't you know, I don't know if it was the next day, but it was definitely the same week. All of a sudden, he gets hit with a $260 million lawsuit from Derek Dixon, who met Tyler Perry in 2019 as an employee of an event company. So he was working at one of the events that Tyler Perry contracted this event company to come to and host. He met Tyler Perry there. Tyler Perry invited him to audition for an upcoming show called Ruthless. Later on, Tyler Perry tells him, allegedly, according to Derek Dixon's attorney, Tyler Perry told him, I can change your life. Stick with me, I could change your whole life. He then invites him to audition for a role on The Oval, Tyler Perry series The Oval. Derek Dixon stars in 85 episodes of The Oval between 2020 or 2021 until 2024, 2025. In January of 2020, Art, right before, Tyler Perry allegedly texts Derek Dixon and says, among other things, I can't remember the last time I had really good sex. Now, as a heterosexual male, if another man sends me a text telling me he can't remember the last time he had good sex, I already know that ain't somebody I need to be around alone, because he clearly got the wrong idea about me. In fact, I'm gonna have to let him know. In the future, fam, I don't need to know about your sex life. So Tyler Perry texts him this. He can't remember the last time he had great sex. And then he invites Derek Dixon to his house. Derek Dixon goes to Tyler Perry's house in Georgia. He says, allegedly, according to the criminal complaint or the civil suit, he says Tyler Perry gave him some drinks. They were talking. He started to feel a little tipsy. It got late. Tyler Perry tells Derek, it's a little too late for you to drive home tonight. You've been drinking. I have a guest bedroom. Come and stay in my guest bedroom. Derek Dixon goes to the guest bedroom. He's tired. He's been drinking. He's ready to get some sleep. He says he lays down. And at some point, Tyler Perry comes into his room, slips into the bed behind him, and start rubbing the inside of his thigh. Now, Art, he don't leave. He don't punch him. He don't get dressed and call a Uber or get in his car and get up out of there. In fact, he goes back to work like nothing happened. You could have sued him right there. But he says, and this is where I think Tyler Perry has some room to stand and defend himself. Derek repeatedly alleges that he was concerned about his job and his career. Well, if you're concerned about your job and your career, and this black man is sexually harassing you, why not turn him in? Why isn't your manhood or your self-respect, even if you're homosexual, if this man is sexually assaulting you, because you can be sexually assaulted as a homosexual as well, why not turn him in? Why are you saying I put up with it for the sake of the job? To me, you are collaborating and voluntarily participating in this, because you could have ended this a long time ago. So anyway, Art, he says that Tyler Perry, throughout this whole relationship of 2020 to 2024, is grabbing his butt cheeks. He says one day Tyler Perry comes into his trailer, grabs him violently by the neck, grabs his butt. Then he says a couple months later, there was another incident. Then the following year, in June of 2021, he says Tyler Perry pulled his underwear down, Art. Help me out. Help me out. If this man allegedly pulled your underwear down and grabbed your ass cheeks, why are you not going to a lawyer or going to the police? This man is a billionaire. He's a billionaire. Why are you hanging around? He says Tyler Perry coerced him, Art. Coerced him into accepting the sexual exploitation because Tyler Perry promised him his own show. Tyler Perry promised him career advancement. He allegedly, Tyler Perry was going to provide him with career advancement opportunities.
Hey, yo, I'm not gonna lie. Dr. Umar is a little funny. He said in 2021, this man pulled his pants down, grabbed his ass cheeks, put his hands in the palm of an ass, and said, yo, help me out. Why are you not doing nothing about it and wait all this time? I mean, just looking at bro on the right, the Derek Dixon dude. I mean, this is a pure example of guy to the left, got that Diddy vibe. I'm going to get you. Dude to the right, oh yeah, give me some money. I'll submit to you. I mean, it's clear as day. But man, Tyler Perry aggressive, man. Pulled the pants down and grabbed his ass. It's crazy. That is insane. And you know the crazy thing about people like Tyler Perry, about Diddy, all these, really like predator type dudes, they really have a specific type. And they get off on this stuff. And it's not just people who are famous. If we want to, really get serious here, they have a type. And I don't think they get off just by being able to buy sex. We're talking about billionaires, right? Obviously, they can go to another country. They can go anywhere here in America. And you want to play with a couple dudes, you can probably buy a couple of dudes. Sent them a text and said, I can't remember the last time I had good sex. They have a type, It's either they really want to have control over their type, get their cake and eat it too. Or it's just that they don't get off unless it's their type. And they want to control that type as well, I think mentally it's very fucked up, sick individuals. Because it probably wouldn't please Tyler Perry to just go get any low thing. He wants a certain kind. A lot of these demons, they want a certain kind, These incubus spirits and these men, they want a certain kind. They want to prey and be predators on a certain kind of man or a certain kind of woman. They don't want to just grab something off the street. A lot of the times they probably don't even understand why they want to break another man down or they like it when this man is trying to run and not give it, give it up so easy. They like this thing right here, They like the chase. You can only imagine the mindset of a lot of these predators, man. Like sometimes you're dealing with some really sick individuals who hold this stuff mentally. And the biggest thing is that they don't get off on just simple stuff. A simple sex encounter just doesn't do it for them. And when you feel like you have to manipulate somebody, invite them to your house, make them drink, creep into bed with them and stuff like that, that's the chase for him. That stuff gets him going. Not just no regular sex encounter. A lot of these people are really sick in the head. And it really comes down to the fact that they're not turned on by regular stuff no more. That money, them demons, that industry done turned them completely out. You know, it's a mental thing first. It's stimulation mentally first, and then it reaches to the physical sex. You know, they got to be stimulated mentally first. You know, turned on mentally. You know what I'm saying? It's weird. It's hard for me to explain it, but I've watched and seen enough of this stuff that, you know, you kind of start to catch on. Either way it go, it's pretty sick. So, yeah, man, I'm not going to stretch this video out much longer, y'all. If anything else comes out about this that we should talk about, y'all already know I'm on it, man. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this in the comments. With that being said, it's Black Balloon, and I'm going to see y'all soon. I'm out.